So we took a look at Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol. We've taken a look at equities a little bit, the dollar, yields, gold, silver, copper. I want to just go ahead and take a look at some altcoins real quick. So here's SUI, okay? So SUI. And this is a very bearish, I guess you could call this like an expanding wedge, or some people will call this some type of a megaphone pattern. Either way, very bearish. And SUI, when it broke down, it didn't quite, it didn't really crash like we saw here during, on October 10th. So SUI, I think, has much more downside left. So I think SUI, this bear market, this Bitcoin bear cycle, I think SUI, if it's lucky, will be able to hold 50 cents. So this is something that I'm watching for a short opportunity. If SUI can bounce back up to $1.35 or so, I think that would be a great entry on the short side. So I'm just waiting to see if SUI can continue to rally a little bit further, get up to like $1.30, $1.35, and then I will open shorts on SUI, because I think it probably moves down to 50 cents or so, something like that. If we take a look at Link is a very similar pattern here. So the breakdown of support, and there's the October 10th crash lows. Notice you also had support here. So it looks like $8 is a decent level of support on Link. If it's able to rally up to $11 or $12, that would be a big rally in percentage terms. Maybe it gets only up to $11. At that point, I think it's a great short opportunity, because if Link moves down to $8, I don't think that would hold. So I'm just thinking, if I view this through the lens of what Bitcoin may do, if Bitcoin breaks 75K, I don't see how Link can hold $8. $8 is only how many percentage points? 17% from the current spot price. But hey, you know what? You could see that in a day. It could move lower by 17% in a session. So a little bit further to the upside out of Link, and I would start to open some shorts on Link. And if Bitcoin breaks below 75K and really accelerates the downside into the 60s, I think that Link breaks $8 and moves down to $5. And that would be near the bear market lows from last cycle. AVAX, something similar here on AVAX. So we got that break of support here. If I just go ahead and zoom in a little bit, I can remove this. So we got that break of support, and AVAX, doing its best to rally a little bit here, but you've got the October 10th crash lows at $8.50. And that's also, pretty much very, very close to the bear market lows from last bear market, right around $8.50. Here's the thing though, AVAX, if AVAX breaks down again and doesn't hold 850, then I think we've got to start talking about, let me just grab a box tool here. Then I think we've got to start talking about this zone, between like $5 and $3, between $3 and $5 down here. So that would be, like lows from 2 cycles ago for AVAX. And, a lot of these alts, I would actually like to hold these things spot if they get down to these levels. So for SUI, I would pick up SUI at 50 cents. I would pick up Link down here at $5. I would pick up AVAX down here at $3 or $4. I think that that's an interesting play, because if I can get AVAX for $3 or $4 and, they actually end up doing something and building something during the next bear or bull cycle, having a cost basis down here at $3, if there's actually some type of a run, that could do really, really well. So I'm just thinking about being patient enough to wait to buy spot, and in the meantime, waiting for an entry on a short. So that's the way that I view.
What about Hyperliquid is bucking the trend and then down drift?
Yes, there are 2 that have been bucking the trend that are on my watch list here. So Hyperliquid is one of them. And, this looks kind of like a flag. It looks like Hype is flagging off. So that flag pattern looks to me like if this breaks out, then I want to go ahead and remove this horizontal here and this. So let's just see, where could resistance come in? maybe if I just extend this trend line out a little bit, maybe 40, the mid 40s, if this flag continues, if you get, if the flag actually, because a bull flag is a short-term continuation pattern. So if we get some continuation to the upside out of hype, then, maybe even as high as the high 40s. So hype actually doesn't look all that bad. Yeah, Paula, go ahead.
Yeah, David, would you mind taking a look at Tao and Ton?
Of course. So, finishing up here with hype, I wouldn't be surprised to see it up here in the mid 40s. And this thing can really move fast, but I wasn't expecting it to hold on to the gains. I thought that it would bleed along with everything else. And that still kind of is that is what my gut tells me. I think that just because hype has rallied doesn't mean it continues to rally, but it's bucking the trend, that's for sure. Yeah, Josh, go ahead.
I think the team took a very small percentage of the allocation they could have taken. I think that was part of the bullishness. I think they took 120,000 tokens instead of taking like 2 million. And I think that Arthur Hayes bought in again after selling off a few months ago. So I think that if you just monitor what the team is going to be taking as far as tokens go, that'll be a pretty good indicator of kind of where the token's going to go. It seems like they still believe the free cash flow is still very high. The TVL is good. So as long as the team believes, I think it's still a decent play.
Now, Josh, how are you tracking the team's allocations? Is there a website or a dashboard that allows you to track those data?
And they posted it on a Twitter the day that the
Oh,
allocation was coming out. They just CT.
oh, right, man. Well, hey, nothing better. So, but if it breaks out, I would, watch for resistance up here at like $47 or so. I don't know. I just, the only thing that matters is the free cash flow. And Hyperliquid generates a ton of free cash flow. And importantly, they actually return it to token holders. So that is very important. Most DeFi protocols don't do that.